My sister didn't even wait for the funeral flowers to wilt. Mom was still warm in the ground. We had just left the cemetery. When she showed up at my apartment, didn't sit, didn't hug me, didn't even look sad, she just lifted her chin and said, "So, I'll take the apartment. And I want $2.5 million cash." Mom would have wanted me to have it. My name is Morgan Wells, I'm 32. And if you think the quiet sister doesn't know how to end a dynasty, stay seated. Because I wasn't quiet. I was calculating. She thought silence meant softness. She thought calm meant weakness. She thought grief meant distraction. It's funny how the greedy assume the gentle ones are easy prey. My sister, Colleen, always believed she was entitled to the bigger slice of everything because she was the golden daughter, the one Mom bragged about, the one who knew how to network, the one who looked expensive, the one who married well. Meanwhile, I was always the one who works too much. Invisible unless needed. Colleen kicked off her shoes, sat on my couch, and scrolled through her phone like this was a business meeting. Then she snapped her fingers at me, literally, and said, "Do the bank transfers tomorrow morning. You know Mom always wanted me taken care of." My jaw didn't clench. My breath didn't shake. I just looked at her with a face she had never seen from me before. Because what she didn't know, what no one knew, was that Mom had already signed over every single asset to me 7 months before she died. And Mom didn't just leave money. She left proof. Colleen had no idea a storm was already waiting behind her smug confidence. The next morning, I didn't rush. I brewed coffee, opened the patio doors, let the cold morning air move through the kitchen. Colleen texted 4 times. 8:42 a.m. Bank opens at 9. Don't be stupid. 8:47 a.m. Do not make me involve lawyers. 8:55 a.m. Don't pretend you're poor. We all know what Mom left. 9:02 a.m. I'm calling Dad. Good. I wanted them all in one place. See, 7 months before Mom died, she had one final lucid week. And in that week, she did what no one expected. She wrote statements. Real ones. With details. She spelled out every borrowed card they used, every temporary loan they never repaid, every time they forged her signature, every transaction they made through her accounts to avoid taxes. And she took those statements, notarized, to an attorney I had chosen. Quiet sister didn't mean weak. Quiet meant strategic. So, at 11:20 a.m., I walked calmly into my attorney's office. He already had the folders ready. There were 8 of them labeled and indexed, each one documented, in Mom's handwriting, the exact crimes Colleen and her husband committed. Identity fraud, elder financial abuse, tax evasion, forgery. It wasn't speculation. It wasn't emotional. It was provable. Across the city, my phone lit up again. Dad calling. Dad calling. Dad calling. And at 12:03, Colleen called. No more arrogance. Just panic. She whispered, "What did Mom sign?" I didn't answer. I just picked up the stack of folders, Mom's final gift, and slid them into my tote bag. Because before the end of the day, Colleen would learn what quiet really meant. When I arrived at Dad's house, Colleen was already pacing on the porch, mascara streaked down her cheeks, hair frizzy from stress, her husband standing behind her pretending to be calm, but visibly shaking. Dad tried to play the peacekeeper. He always does. "Girls, let's talk like family," he said. Family. Funny word. Especially when used by the people who only remember it when they smell money. I didn't sit. I didn't remove my coat. I just placed my tote bag on the dining table, the table where Mom used to peel oranges for us, and slowly unzipped it. 8 folders hit the wood. Thud. 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 Dad's eyebrows knitted. Colleen's husband swallowed hard. Colleen whisper asked, "What is that?" "Mom's handwriting," I said. Dead silence. I opened the first folder and slid the first page toward them. The notarized statement where Mom wrote Colleen's full legal name and the exact transaction where she used Mom's credit card to fund her husband's failed land flipping project. $48,700. Dad sat down. Colleen's knees buckled. She gripped the back of a chair. I opened the second folder. The one listing the forged signatures. The one with the exact dates, the fingerprint pages, the attorney's countersign. Colleen's voice trembled into a cracked whisper. You're not actually going to use those, right? I didn't answer. I simply took the third document, tapped it lightly against the table, and said, "These statements were filed with Mom's estate attorney 7 months ago." Colleen's husband's face turned ghost white, because in that moment, they finally understood. This wasn't revenge. This was consequence. And silence, the same silence they mocked for years, was about to become their judge, jury, and executioner. Dad's voice came out thin, like his throat physically couldn't push it out. Why didn't you tell us any of this earlier? I finally sat down. Not out of weakness, out of position. Power sits. Power doesn't hover. I tried, I said quietly, for 22 years. Colleen's husband sank into the chair across from me like his bones turned to sand. The same man who once told me to stay in my little office job lane now couldn't make eye contact. Colleen's hands were trembling so badly she had to pin them between her knees. Dad rubbed his forehead, staring at the table as if the grain pattern could save him. I slid the final envelope forward. This is the only one that actually matters today. Colleen hesitated, then ripped it open. Inside, a single sentence. Signed and sealed by the estate attorney. The full inheritance distribution has already been finalized and transferred. Dad blinked. Colleen blinked. Her husband's mouth dropped open. What does that mean? Dad croaked. I folded my hands. It means the inheritance is legally closed. No redistribution. No appeals. No second signatures. Mom's estate is already executed. Colleen looked like she'd been hit in the chest. You already got the money? No. I kept my voice soft, devastatingly soft. That is what you assumed. Colleen's lips shook. Then who? The foundation, I said. They stared, confused. I continued. The Coastal Film Arts Foundation, the one Mom supported quietly for years. She left every cent to sponsor young women in film and design. Her will was signed 2 months before her stroke. You were never heirs to money that was never yours. Colleen's face collapsed, not into sadness, but into realization. Her entire war was fought for a throne that never existed. For a moment, nobody breathed. Not even me. Colleen slid back in her chair, like her spine had given up the job of staying upright. Her husband suddenly found a fascinating detail on the floor that he apparently needed to stare at with his entire soul. And Dad. Dad looked 10 years older in 5 silent seconds. The foundation? He repeated, like maybe if he said it out loud the universe would reverse itself. I nodded once. Mom's final decision. Her last real choice. And the only choice she made free from anyone's manipulation. Colleen swallowed like her throat was paper. But she always said we'd be taken care of. I almost smiled. She meant emotionally. She meant support. She meant family. You translated that into cash. Dad's hand covered his face. Colleen suddenly snapped, a little wild, a little desperate. So you get nothing either? You did all this just so nobody wins? I tilted my head. Who said nobody wins? She froze. What do you get? She whispered. I leaned forward, elbows on the table, calm, centered, the way I never got to be in childhood. Peace. Colleen blinked, like the word physically didn't compute. Peace isn't a currency, she hissed. It is if you grew up starving for it, I replied. Silence. Then the doorbell rang. All 3 of them jumped like the building exploded. I already knew who it was, because I had scheduled this part days ago. Colleen's husband opened the door and just stared. 2 estate attorneys stepped inside, followed by 1 representative from the foundation's board. Dad whispered, "Oh my God." I stood. Mom wanted this conversation formally witnessed. So we're going to finish this properly and respectfully. Colleen's bottom lip trembled. Her battle was officially out of her hands. The lawyers laid out the folders across the dining table like a chessboard. Page after page, Signatures, notarizations, timestamps, transfer confirmations, all dated months before Mom's health declined. All done quietly. All airtight. All legal. Colleen's eyes darted across every sheet like she was searching for a typo that would magically undo reality. "There has to be something wrong here," she whispered. One of the attorneys calmly replied, "Mrs. Wells made sure there wasn't." Dad rubbed his temples. "Why didn't she tell us?" I finally said it, gently, but sharp enough to cut. "Because every time she tried to talk about the future, you all turned the conversation into your wish list." Colleen blinked fast, tears rising now. Her husband muttered, "We thought she was just overthinking."
No.
They thought Mom was a bank. Silence stretched. Then the foundation rep slid a navy blue folder toward me. "This is your portion," she said to me. "Your role as executor and primary overseer of Impact." Colleen stared like the word impact was a foreign language. "You get to control everything," she whispered. I shook my head.
No.
"I get to guide everything. There's a difference." Dad's voice cracked again. "So, we're not getting anything?" I looked at him, not with triumph, but with clarity. "You're getting something Mom always wanted you to have." "What?" he breathed. "Consequence." It landed so softly, but it rearranged the air. Colleen covered her face. Her husband pushed his chair back slowly, like he suddenly didn't want to be associated with her downfall. The attorneys began packing up. The foundation rep nodded toward me, ready for the next phase. And that's when I made one more decision, a decision none of them saw coming. I stood up from the table. Colleen looked up at me, red-eyed, still waiting for some miracle clause to appear, some last-minute twist where she'd still walk away rich. I walked to the window instead. Outside, the light rail hummed past, Portland still moving, still living, utterly unaffected by her meltdown. "Colleen," I said quietly without turning, "you've been angry your entire life that things didn't land in your lap already polished." She flinched. Dad whispered, "Caroline, don't." But I wasn't attacking. I was closing a door cleanly. I turned around. "You want $2.5 million? Earn the first focused hour of your own life.
Get a job.
Start anywhere." Mom didn't make this foundation to reward entitlement. Colleen's breathing went shallow, like she finally heard something no one ever said to her. Her husband pulled out his phone, scrolling in panic, probably to see if his name showed up in any of the documents. It didn't. I walked to the foundation rep. "I'm starting the first mentorship circle Monday. Add 2 more seats." She blinked. "2 more?" I nodded. "For 2 girls who apply late, because chaos in their homes delayed their deadlines." Colleen stared up at me, like she recognized what that line really meant.
Dad stood too.
He actually looked small. "I didn't know," he whispered. "No," I replied. "You didn't want to know. Wanting and willing aren't the same." The attorneys left with the files. The foundation rep left with the next set of tasks. The house emptied, except us. Colleen turned and walked out the front door without another word. Her heels clicked down the path like punctuation marks of a chapter closing. Dad followed slowly, head down. I locked the door behind them, not out of spite, out of peace. The next morning, I drove to the foundation office early, before anyone else arrived. Sunlight was just hitting the glass facade. The city felt quiet, but not empty. Quiet like a page waiting for new ink. I unlocked my office, placed my bag on the chair, and opened the first scholarship file of the next cycle. A girl from Salem, raised by a single mom, applying for architecture. Her essay began, "I don't want to escape my family. I want to build something beyond them." I smiled. That sentence, that was healing. Because this journey wasn't about punishing anyone. It was about remembering who I could have been if one adult had invested belief in me earlier. I poured my coffee, sat by the window, and let the morning unfold without urgency. My phone buzzed once. A message from Dad. "We're all going to start therapy next week. This isn't an apology, but it's a beginning." I stared at that sentence a long moment. It didn't shake me. It didn't pull me backward. It didn't reopen the wound. It just existed, like a weather report you don't need to react to. I typed a simple reply. Thank you. Take care of yourselves. Then I muted the thread. Because growth, real growth, isn't about who comes crawling back. It's about who you choose to stand with moving forward. At noon, 3 scholarship applicants arrived for interviews, including the girl from Salem. She shook my hand with the same mixture of nerves and determination I once carried like armor. By 5 o'clock, the board finalized its votes. 3 young women, 3 futures changed. I wrote their names carefully onto the acceptance placards. Names that deserved to be seen. Names that weren't mine and didn't need to be. When I locked the foundation door that evening and stepped onto the sidewalk, the air felt new, like a clean page. I didn't need closure from the past. I was the closure. And the future I'm building? That's the inheritance worth fighting for.